Hey, it's Herbert. And you're listening to the About Last Night podcast, you slippery little son of a bitch.
About last night.
Guys, welcome back to the About Last Night podcast. My boy, you see me just already stutter? That's what happens when you're in the presence
now roll it.
of hotness.
Yeah.
Matt Rife, good to see you, player.
Dude, good to see you.
Matty,
too,
I think
man.
I first met you. Let's just get into that. I think I first saw some shirtless underwear ad you did. And I put that poster on my ceiling, and I was like, someday I want to meet this comic.
And when you were like 16, 17.
16, 17.
I was like 5.
Did you have those, by the way, as a kid? Like the posters of anybody like that you looked up to, or like, you know, hot girls
as corny,
or athletes? Who'd you have?
As corny as it is going to sound, I had 2 posters in my room. I had one of Dave Chappelle and I had one of Dane Cook.
Wow.
Yeah. And even to this day, all my friends that come
Still
over
have those
like,
posters?
Don't have those ones.
Yeah.
No. Now in my room, I have a vintage photo. It's this giant framed photo of the 1956 Oscars. I have
cool.
some artwork of Matthew McConaughey, Dave Chappelle, and Patrick Swayze. Some of my favorite entertainers.
Just interviewed
no women.
McConaughey for my other podcast with
Dude,
Chuck Liddell 2 days ago.
that. That's so awesome,
Bonkers.
man.
And guess what?
Congrats.
Thank you. All I want to do is I've never met someone that afterwards I was just like, yeah, did I send him a DM on Instagram after? Yeah. Did he respond? Not yet. But dude, the pod was so great. He's such a true rare specimen where you're like, oh, how are you this dope at what you do and articulate, but like could roll with the punches and
chill, dude.
Yeah.
It seems like.
Yeah.
Did you read Green Lights?
I'm halfway through listening to it.
Oh, I did the audiobook as well.
Yeah,
Because it's him narrating it, so it
if you
makes it
didn't
so
listen
much
to
better.
it, you would just do his voice in your head while you were
Absolutely.
reading it. So McConaughey. So were there a handful of so Chappelle and Dane were the guys that made you when you were a kid go, oh, I want to do that?
Yeah, Dane is the first comic I ever saw live. This is when he was at like his absolute peak. My mom won tickets on the radio.
Awesome.
To see him
What
in
was the
Nationwide
contest?
Arena. I think it was just like be this number caller or something like that.
It
And I
wasn't
got
like
home
do
from
a Dane
school.
impression and your
Oh,
mom
God,
like
I
crushed
hope
it.
not.
She had the speak and spell bit over the phone.
Yeah. My mom's a smoker, so it kind of just sounded like her.
Yeah, that's amazing.
So yeah, she won the tickets and we went and saw him, and like something inside me just kind of like clicked. I started doing stand up like 7 months later, something like that.
Wow.
Yeah, it was
And
crazy.
in that 7 months, what kind of prevented you from like starting the next week? Was it like needing to get a grasp on how do I even start this?
Yeah, because I had just turned 15, so like I didn't
Crazy,
understand even really what it was. Like even when I started out, I was doing a different 5 minutes every open mic because I didn't even know what building a set was. I still thought comedy was just people going up there and being funny. So I had no reference of how to even begin, and I figured out the Columbus Funny Bone, which you've played.
Yeah.
It's a great club. I found that was the closest club to me. It was about an hour away, and I emailed Dave Stroop.
Yeah.
And as a kid, I was like, "Hey, man, I know I'm not 18 or 21, but like if I have a parent or something with me, I'd love to come try this out." And any club owner in their right mind would have been like, "No, like for what?
What value are you adding to my club?
Exactly.
No one's coming out to
risk
see a 15-year-old. Yeah, to
exactly.
risk it.
Yeah. So he was just like, "Yeah, sure, come on by," and he let me, and it just became like an extracurricular thing I was doing for fun.
So you go there how many times a month?
Their open mic was every Wednesday. So I would go, it was like 7:30 on
Mom
Wednesdays.
would take you every Wednesday?
I was living with my grandpa at the time, but yeah, he would take me.
What a
And
gangster, dude.
and it was like, they were bringer shows.
Yeah.
Like every person had to bring 5 people or sell 5 tickets. So what my grandpa would do is he would buy 5 tickets to make it seem like I brought 5
Dude,
people.
that's unbelievable.
I know.
This is going to, by the way, this is when you go on The View or some show where women will already be swooning. That's the story.
And then I'll tell the story about how I bought him 2 pocket pussies in a row for Christmas.
to say thank you?
Yeah, well, he broke the first one, so I had to get him a second one.
From his cock?
I assume so.
Or just like dropped it and stepped on it on accident?
I like to think it's the
You didn't
first
ask,
one.
did you?
No, I didn't really want to know.
I broke my pocket pussy.
Well,
cool. Let's just leave it at that.
It was scary because the second one had a I got him like a souped up one where it had like the end of it was like a suction cup to where you could like put it to a surface. And I was like, yo, if I come home for Christmas and there's drywall missing. Thanks for having me, Adam.
Yeah, dude, that's been Matt Rife at Matt Rife on Twitter. By the way, I love that there's different tiers of the pocket pussy. Like you definitely were like, let me get him the basic one, and then let me get him the
basic one
package.
was not enough. He told verbatim, he said I broke its neck, which made it so much more disturbing.
God,
I was like, you gave it a body part,
dude.
It was disgusting.
No thanks,
dude.
table for one. Well, that's a sweet. What's your grandpa's name?
Steve.
Still with us?
Yeah.
Awesome. Wow.
He's my guy.
So you got to get him out for the special.
I'm gonna fly him out. He doesn't know that yet, and he doesn't even know what a podcast is.
Okay,
so he
great.
won't
I was
see this.
say, what if, by the way, he was a diehard About Last Night fan and like
it wouldn't surprise me, dude. He's been catching up super fast.
Oh, really?
I just got him his first iPhone for Christmas last year.
Sweet.
He refused. He had a flip phone forever. He wouldn't get an iPhone because
those people are just so hell bent on not coming into the 21st century.
He's so stubborn. He thought iPhones were making everybody gay.
What a great take.
Chronologically, he was like, think about it. Everybody started being gay around the time the iPhone came out, which if you look into it, it does kind of match up.
Give an iPhone user a pocket pussy. Watch them throw it right in the trash because they're just going to be looking for cock and balls on their iPhone screensavers. You're like, Grandpa.
Dude, now like the only way to like one up that next Christmas is like I have to get him like VR goggles for the porn that he can watch now.
Oh my God, you have to.
Dude, that house
Did you talk about this in your act at all?
No.
That's so funny, dude. Are you kidding me?
That's
so real, and that's so. Because also, dude, you did what and I'm sure you love too, in comedy movies, comedy bits. Like, if you can get a decent amount of heart and then, like, kind of, get a right hook with some laughs right after, dude. Because you sucked me in when you were just like, man, he drove me every Wednesday. And then right after, dude, you were like, so I thanked him with a pocket pussy, like, for Christmas? Dude, that is so funny, man.
It's the least I could do. The amount of sex stand-up has got me. Wouldn't have happened.
Hilarious.
Had he not taken me. So.
Wait, okay, so he takes you every Wednesday, and you're doing a new 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And are you, like, running bits with him on the ride over? Are you talking with him, or is he just like... No, I'm supporting my grandson. Yeah,
just that he's incredibly introverted. My whole family is like I'm nothing like my family. My grandpa's the funniest one, I suppose. Like
cool.
I probably got into comedy because I would go stay at him every weekend when I was a kid.
Yeah. So
he would show me like Adam Sandler films, Rob Schneider, David Spade. I think I had seen Bad Santa with Billy Bob Thornton when I was like 8.
Awesome.
Like,
by the way, I'm a big advocate of that. I showed my brothers when they were 8 and 9, Family Guy, sent them all the DVDs. And to this day, I firmly believe their sensibilities are what they are because of that. Because they just got, started to be just aware of like, that type of comedy, and like it's definitely shaped him. So that's dope that he did that.
Totally. I think that's what made me have an appreciation for comedy in general, whether it be comedic films or stand up in general. But my entire family is like, they're not funny, they're not extroverted, like they don't conversate well. Like I wouldn't even be able to have this conversation with anybody in my family. They're very unlike me.
So where would you get any sort of riffing and joking at school, or
just friends? I was like class clown, of course.
By the way, I was the same way. Family didn't even see that my mom was funny until probably the last 15 years when I started doing stand up and started to see that she was a person and not a parent, and started to be like, oh, that's where I got definitely the chops from. But same thing, man. I'd never, because I assume for most comics, because I would hear a lot of people being like, oh yeah, I was like, I'd put on shows at Thanksgiving for my family, right? And I was like, man, that was not me. It was either at school or at a friend's house with their parents. I'd try to make them laugh. But I almost felt weird doing it at home. I was like, right? Like embarrassed
100%. Yeah, my household was not the one to try to make laugh. I spent so much time in detention for making jokes.
What type of shit would you do for class clown? Credibility?
Like one thing was like my math teacher in high school, algebra teacher, whatever. You were only allowed to use the bathroom like 5 times per quarter or some shit like that, right?
Sure.
Like you got bathroom passes.
Well, it was so obvious for the kids that were like, just like,
skipping
I got to
shit.
shit again. You're like,
yeah,
okay, man.
So I had used up all of mine like week 2, right? And I had glasses at the time. This is when I just got glasses, and she wouldn't let me go use the restroom, and I really had to go for real. And I was like, for real. And I got up and I started like kicking stuff around on the ground, and she was like, "What are you doing?" I was like, "I dropped my contact. If I could really go to the bathroom to like rinse my eye out."
Whoa.
And I'm wearing glasses the entire time.
Hilarious.
Like stupid
She
stuff.
can't pick up on that.
Like, yes, just stupid stuff like that.
Would you do voices? Would you do like, impersonate people from movies? That was always popular. Some kids would just kind of get their chuckles in by doing like an Austin Powers or a.
No, I was never really an impressionist or character person. I was like, I guess I've never really thought about this, but I guess it was a lot of like, I was kind of punching up what the teacher would be talking about. Like, teacher would say something about something that happened in history or whatever, and I'd be like something to go along with what she was saying. Like, very disruptive to the class.
Wow.
Which is
and
now
get laughs.
Yeah, and get laughs. Like the students.
Dude,
wow, that's how
that's
stand up I am.
That's not a slip up, by the way. That's definitely how, dude. I'm same fucking way, man.
Really?
Oh yeah, dude. You view that. I mean, you're not thinking of it in terms at the time that it is an audience, but it is. I mean,
you
it's
get that rush. You're like, that good feeling of making my entire class erupt in laughter is way better than the getting scolded by my teacher in the hallway.
Totally. And it's also worth it.
Yeah.
Like making a full classroom. By the way, that's so powerful. And I think what's crazy is, and why, we end up separating from that, because there are other funny kids I'm sure you knew that were, but it's why not every kid has the audacity or fearlessness to take risks to try to make the whole class laugh, knowing that there's ramifications. Yeah,
and I don't know, I still don't know why or how I got the confidence to do that. Because even to this day, if I go to like a party or an event or something like that, I'm not outspoken. I don't want to be center of attention. Really? I feel like a lot of comics are actually kind of like that.
Yeah.
Like, other than when it's your time to perform, like, you don't really want to like talk to people. You don't really want the expectations of having to perform.
You're a pretty social guy though, right? Or
when I have to be, or just when I want to be. But it's not like, I'm not one of those comedians who just like doesn't have an off switch. You know what I mean? My off switch, I'm usually off. Right. I feel like.
Right.
Except for just when it's the right occasion, which apparently is middle of education.
Yeah. What was the moment where you go, okay, I think I'm now going to, like, how many open mics or bringer shows did you do before, like, did Stroop finally say something to you? Like, did he ever give you any sort of, piece of confidence?
So the things I did when I was early on in my career are like so outrageous to even think about doing today. But like when I started stand up, Twitter had like just kind of popped off, right?
Wow. Okay.
To where not everybody was on it. So everybody was incredibly accessible. So when I think I just turned 16. I've been doing stand up I've done it maybe 20 times, really. DL Hughley was coming to the Funny Bone, and I was a massive Soul Plane fan. By the way, that's all I knew him from. He was the bathroom attendant in Soul Plane.
So funny, dude.
And I reached out to him, and I had heard that like after open mics, the next step is like guest sets, and then hosting, then feature, then headlining. Cool. So I reached out to him on Twitter. I DM'd him like, "Hey man, I'm a massive fan. You're coming to my city. Like, could I do a guest spot on your show?" And he was like, again, didn't have to, shouldn't have, but was like, "Sure, why not?" Go by and show up, and he's like, "Fuck, you're really 16. I thought you were like somebody 25 just trying to like get some stage time or whatever."
Whoa.
Did the show, went great. He invited me to stay the entire weekend. And then I did the same thing with Finesse Mitchell, who's still a very good friend of mine.
That's awesome.
Eric Griffin, Ralphie May, who was a great friend until he passed, obviously. Yeah, all of those guys. Within 2 years of doing stand-up, I was like already in with these guys from just asking.
That is and I fully subscribe, always have to you don't ask, you don't get.
Absolutely.
And, there's, I think, levels to that because, look, it's not like you hadn't done it at all. It's not like you were asking to feature. Like it's like asking within reason, recognizing like what, you can ask for.
Yeah.
Like, obviously, if you're going to, if you DM Chappelle, like, can I go on the road with you? That's probably not the right ask. At that time, but
since you bring up Chappelle, this is the difference between me at 16 and me and me now, and it's hard to describe what the difference exactly is. But I didn't have the courage to do it, even though I feel like I definitely maybe I should have done it, but I didn't have the balls to do it. When he was working out his SNL monologue recently in Atlanta, that's my old manager's comedy club. So I was in Alabama doing shows.
Which one?
The Atlanta Comedy Theater, Garrett Abdo.
Oh yeah.
So I was in Huntsville Stand Up Live there that weekend, and he was like, "Yo, Chappelle's staying a whole week here," and I was like, "Cancel my flight back to LA," and I drove to Atlanta, and I stayed all week to see his show, and I saw like 6 of his shows in a row, and like at like show 4, I could see it was just one opener who was like doing okay, and then it was Dave. So yeah, after like show number 4, Gary was like, "Do you want to meet him?" And I've always wanted to. Never met him. I'd
Favorite
always
comic?
favorite comic.
Me too.
And I'd always just wanted to say like, thank you for what you do, and thank you for being such an inspiration to me.
As long as he's done it, like what's so crazy, Matt, is like when I was in college, when Chappelle's Show popped, I'm sure you loved Chappelle's Show too, right?
Yeah.
Like, and stand up wise is when he really popped. He'd been doing it obviously at 15 as well, right? Which is probably another reason why you're kind of connected to him on that level, right?
Yeah, he and Ralphie are like 2 of the only ones I know who started before me.
That's crazy.
So
to be doing it, at least like when I would go, I drove to Vegas flew to Seattle, like San Diego, a bunch of places to see him when Chappelle's Show. And then at the store, he did a show. First time I went to the Comedy Store was the main room my sophomore year, 2003. And I remember like David
just as an audience member.
Oh, yeah. We sat like 4 rows away in the main room. And I want to say Louis opened or did a guest set. And then I wish I could remember who else. But like Pauly was there and was filming a little documentary. And David Schwimmer was there. And,
oh, man.
And it was like star-studded.
Yeah.
And it was so great. And it was and so what is crazy, and just to piggyback on our appreciation for his commitment to the craft, it's like still, man, like I mean, dude, what is it? 3 specials in the last 5 years? I mean,
at least,
and
yeah.
Still so prolific with his material.
Always funny. Always funny. Always has a message.
Yes.
Always has a perspective that's unique, but oddly speaks to the masses.
Yeah, and it's totally to be a true like man of the people and to be a voice of like it's always, I feel like, important to have somebody that really is like so silly like he is, which is what I love about his comedy, is that he can be really like. I went out to the Chappelle camp this summer, and Jaleel White and I were there.
Oh, yeah,
it's
dude,
amazing.
I'm so jealous.
And we're sitting in the back one point, and John Mayer's playing, and he's just serenading. All the girls are swooning, and Chappelle's looking, and then we're both just looking, and then he looks over at me, and he just goes, and I just smile. I was like, it'd be tough to follow. And he goes, man, he goes, yeah, you're kidding. And he goes, pussy jokes don't fail me now. And it was just like such a funny thing to say, like just being like, I'm such a fucking, like that's what I'm bringing to the table. And that's what he does. But it was, just so, and by the way, so cool. Couldn't have been more generous. Like even in the hangs that we had that were a little more secluded, like saw that I was, kind of not as familiar with everybody and would come up and just chum me up, dude.
Yep.
And I was out there when I got the Young Rock job, and he came up and gave me a big hug because I told my buddy who's his tour manager, and he told Dave, and I was just like, dude, I think it was a good vibes of the weekend or whatever. And but I was like, dude, you're just so nice.
He's very gentle and so down to earth.
Yeah, man.
For somebody who doesn't have to be.
Totally.
He'd have that kind of wiggle room with me if he wasn't. I'd be like, well, I get it. There's a lot going on in here.
So were you nervous to then meet him? Were you almost like, I don't want to meet my hero? Because that definitely has crossed my mind sometimes.
Kind of. It's like him and, like, I don't know, there's maybe 2 other people ever that I would be like nervous to meet anymore, and I was, but I got a chance to meet him, shook his hand, and Gary introduced me to him, and I was able to thank him, and he was just like, stay true to the art, and it'll be true to you. Which, he could have gave me like $1,000, would have been better, but it's fine. Yeah, I'm like, thanks for giving me the shit I have to think about for the next 10 years.
Oh my god!
But what I was saying to lead up to that is like, I wanted to so badly ask, can I do 5 minutes to open your show before your opening act? Because I feel, and
you didn't?
No, I didn't. But purely ego wise, I was like, I feel like my stand up is at the point now where this is probably conceited to say, but it's like it's something I think he would enjoy. I feel like stylistically, some of the stuff I'm doing now, I think he would laugh at, and that could have been life changing. Maybe he asked me to do some other shows with him. I've heard of him doing that for people.
Totally.
Maybe he hates it, and maybe he thinks, you need to get better at it.
Totally.
But I didn't have the nerve to ask.
Because that's also and you didn't.
At 16, I wouldn't have hesitated.
Yeah. Well, look, I think our instincts and our gut are our most true sign of right and wrong. And innately, right, you get that feeling of what look, sometimes I think it is, important to kind of power through some of those things and really kind of reason with what your gut instinct is. But like, I don't know, man. The fact that you didn't is not, I think, and I don't know what the reason fully was, and maybe you figure out after, as far as like, oh, I'll bump into him again, or I want him to ask me.
That's kind of what it feels like. Because like he didn't, and not that I deserve this, not that I expected this, but like, it's not like he was inquisitive about me. It's not like he had heard of me before. And like I'm pretty in the scene. So like there was a part of me that's like I would kind of want him to be like, you want to do 5? I've seen what you can do. Do you want to do it on my show?
And even if he hadn't seen, like maybe there's just a vibe and whatever. Because there's something to be said about that. Like we said, you don't ask, you don't get. But sometimes it's cool when it's like they ask and then you get.
Exactly.
And there is something to be said for people like putting the first hand out, and you were meeting him and he knew you were a comic, and like I think it's smart that you like felt it out and like probably gave there was probably a moment where you were like, all right, maybe he'll offer, and if he doesn't, then maybe that's how then it's almost weirder if then you ask and then you put him on the spot,
exactly,
and then he says yes because of, but then also then there's the play out of like maybe then that's. He's like, oh, fuck, and then he watches, and then you crush, and then he's like, oh, shit, maybe I misjudged him.
But then there's also the scenario of he doesn't watch at all, and then I was just the guy who asked him for something as soon as he met him.
1,000%.
And I can't, I'm very bad at asking people for things, for any kind of help in any situation. I know, it's just, I'm a pretty independent person.
Yeah.
If I do ask for help, I really do fucking need it. But and people like that, they get asked for things. Everybody who meets them wants something from them.
Well, that's why it's cool that you did. You're in a place now too, and I think it's cool that you even had enough wherewithal to sit back and not overplay the situation, but then also trust in yourself and go like, I know that I would go out there and crush and do my thing, because that's a good feeling, because you've been doing it now how long?
10 years.
10 years. I think when I did meet you, I think it was I remember a specific time of might have been like maybe 5 or 6 times in knowing you at the Laugh Factory, and you had just, I don't know why I remember this so vividly, dude, because I just remember when I met you, first of all, I liked your energy, and like knowing a little bit, I think, about talking, and you were like wide-eyed, and I want to say you like introduced yourself to me and were just, and said some complimentary things, but then just seeing a young comic and like somebody that was like excited is always awesome. And then I think you said something about, I think this was maybe it was actually a handful of times after or a year later into you doing it or being in LA, and the kind of substance of the conversation was about how you had just moved to LA and didn't have a job, and I think I was like, you should get a job, but you were surviving on road work, and I was like, and I think I remember vividly being like, just from my experience of like having a job because it was going to open you up to like meeting more people and getting more experiences that can be channeled into material, and right? Do you remember that?
Yeah, and I don't know if you know this, but I took that advice not long after, and because
you walked out and were like, "Fuck you, old man," and I was like, "I think he appreciates it."
Well, then rent was due, and I was like, "Well, maybe that old man was onto something."
Hilarious.
And I went to Ralph's to get groceries, and wasn't applying for a job or anything. And this older woman, probably like late 50s, early 60s, was working there, manager or something like that. And she just goes, "You want a job here?" And I was like,
"How many? Wait, not that same night."
No, this was maybe a week, or maybe 2-3 weeks after, but it was relatively recently after. And I was like, I do need money, and like when I'm not on the road, I do have nothing to do here. Like my nights each night are going to the comedy clubs and just showing face and just being around in the community. But like I don't do anything all day. So I was like, why not? It's a couple blocks from my house. So she was like, here, fill out all this paperwork and we'll get your training. I was gonna be a bag boy. Yeah. So they're like, you have training in like 2 weeks or something like that. And 3 days before I was supposed to start my training, I booked Wild 'N Out, so I didn't have to do the job. Crazy.
Dude, but you know what? That's awesome. And that's a just prime example of like the active mindset that you need out here to like, and things beget things, and just trying to move the needle in, on and off stage. Like you even just trying to do that, the universe almost like recognized, and I'm not super spiritual, but it was like, picking up on like, all right, cool. He's now committed to try to like support the grind or something.
Yeah, exactly.
And then that's awesome, dude.
But it's honestly been within the past 3 years for me to really understand what you meant about it opening you up to new things. Yeah. Because I was taking it from a perspective of like, not that you meant it this way, but like feature road work is like, what do you make, $400 a weekend?
Totally.
If you can, without merch, which pushing merch as a feature is always hard.
Right.
And often embarrassing. Right. So I was like, yeah, if I have the money for a little bit of freedom, maybe I'll be a little bit stressed out. But within the past 3 years, I'd say, I've really understood what it meant to, like, you do have to go meet people. You have to experience things in order to have perspective on them and talk about them.
Yeah.
And funny stuff just kind of happens.
Totally do.
When you're out there. If you're in your house, nothing's going to happen.
Dude, my closer is from my bag boy days at Albertsons right now.
Really?
I did that all through high school. And it was also really just seeing, you just getting here and wanting to, finding that balance too of like stuff that's not, because I could see how gung-ho you were, which was awesome, and didn't want to take away from that. And I also could pick up that you were like, well, I think comedy's going to support, because there is something cool about just being like, comedy's going to support everything. And I got to a place to where I'm making enough to get by. Yeah. So I don't need to get a day job. But there's, just so much you get from, whether it's like extra, financial stability, but really like letting your brain take a day off from thinking of the grind and being a person and like being open to that stuff. Yeah, and it's just weird the way you can call it life, you can go out the universe, whatever it is. Every time since I've been out here for 8 years, there's like usually like every other year, maybe every 3 years, there's a downslope. There's heated moments where you're killing it and money is no issue whatsoever, and then there's downslopes so you can't get any work at all. Yeah. And every time I have gotten to like, this is my last month's rent, like I seriously have no idea what I'm gonna have to do. Like this was end of 2018, around Christmas time, I had no money. I was looking into getting my contractor's license to start doing construction. And like January of 2019, Dane hits me up to go on tour with him. So I was like, man, work just out of nowhere. That has happened 4 or 5 times since I've been out here. It's crazy. It's like fate, destiny. They both sound incredibly corny, but it's like almost every time that I'm like ready to throw in the towel, being like, you know what, maybe it's just not supposed to happen. Something kind of comes up that you're like, I get another chance. Yeah. Awesome. And each time you take it, the money you do make on those hot streaks, you take it less and less for granted. Totally. Is there, so when you got out here, you were how old? 18? 17. Yeah. I graduated high school early and came out here. Wow. Yeah. I stayed on Eric Griffin's couch for like a month while I looked for a place. And so, folks, grandpa were in full support? Yeah. Nobody in my family's ever gone to college, so like there was no pressure. Right. I had that manager Gary when I was 16. He found me on the internet. That's another long story for another podcast. Oh wow. But like I was already touring by the time I was 16, turning 17. I was like the whole Southeast market, Tennessee, Alabama, Florida, Georgia, all that stuff, the Carolinas. Yeah. Like missed both my proms to go do shows. So like I already kind of knew this is what I wanted to do. I was making a little bit of money. I was enjoying it. And I was like, maybe there's a career path here. Yeah. And so there was no pressure to go to college. Like, of course, my mom was nervous, but it's like, if you love doing it, what's the alternative? Stay in this exact hometown that everybody stays in and just be miserable? You know a lot of people that do that. Oh, yeah, dude. You knew early everybody on. I know. Yeah. Nobody leaves this town. It's embarrassing. So people are freaking out. The fact that you even left and now have had success, I mean, are you just a fucking hero in the hometown? Oh, I was a hero when I left. They were like, he's getting out of here. I can't I lived in LA for like 6 months, came back to visit, and they were like, you made it. His couch, man. Yeah, exactly. Like, even that's a credit. Oh, yeah. I'm planning on, they don't know this yet, but I want to go back because it's only 2 years away. I want to go back for my for the 10-year reunion at my high school, and I want to film it's not really a special because it's not really material, but I want to do like a big event in the high school auditorium there. Will you do a show? Yeah, I want to do a show where I just kind of like, I just talk about what high school was like there and bringing up old stories and roasting the town and all that kind of stuff. I think it'd be really fun. That's real cool. I mean, that's so inside baseball, but I think it's incredibly inside. But also like you definitely just piqued my interest in as far as watching it, because if you can also like mix in maybe like, I don't know, with like seeing you talking to some of these people like in between, or maybe like talking head interviews from some of the people about you, right? Like to kind of fill it out. Oh, totally. But also everyone's got, like, even if you're doing jokes about the principal or PE teacher or whatever, like we all have teachers and people that like are going to be some version of what you're talking about that you can relate to. Absolutely. And there's a bit of an ego boost in it, because high school was not good to me at all. So it's a flattering fuck you of like, I'm past it. I'm able to make fun of it and get through it humorously, but like this wasn't a good time. So I want it to be, oh dude. And I don't like playing this card because I don't like people who ask for sympathy. I want nobody to fucking feel sorry for me. I'm doing fine. But like, yeah, I was bullied like fucking crazy. Well, for what? I was just like
class clown, scrawny, like not in with the. I played sports, but like I wasn't one of the jocks. I also wasn't one of like the weird loser kids. So like I was just, I don't know. I was probably easy baits, I suppose, which I think is where a lot of people kind of develop their humor. You learn to deflect with it. When somebody says something about like, oh, you got a little dick, you kind of, rather than be like, oh no, and like you're so embarrassed. You
might
like,
at first, but then it's
is.
like, the third time they say that, you're like, I can't just keep taking this.
Exactly. You can jokingly embrace it and be like, I know, but it's cute though.
Yeah,
or
your mom likes
like
it. Yeah,
yeah, stuff like that. Yeah. This is a fun one to tell. Yeah. My biology teacher in 10th grade, I was fucking around in class or whatever, and in front of the entire class, she yelled at me from across the room and was like, Matt Rife, stop fucking around in class. Cursed in front of everybody. Like, whoa. Stop fucking around in class. If you don't pay attention and you don't get good grades, you're going to fuck around, not go to college, and you're going to work at McDonald's for the rest of your life. And the whole class was, in a typical high school fashion, ooh.
McDonald's fucking sucks.
And I hit her back with, I was like, well, her name is Miss Bradley. I was like, well, Miss Bradley, if I work at McDonald's for the rest of my life, I'm eventually going to work my way up the chain of management, and I'll make way more than a teacher's salary.
Shut the fuck
Dude,
up,
I got in-school suspension for 2 weeks.
Of course you did. Holy shit, man.
So that would be a fun one to tell back home.
You're like, oh my God.
Yeah, it was what
did she do?
Time.
Was she just like went cold faced, like couldn't believe you
just
said
stone
that back?
cold principal's office now.
Yeah, I'm not gonna take that bullshit from you.
Yeah, of
Holy
course.
shit.
I heard she doesn't work there anymore, so that kind of sucks.
That's well, man, I didn't know that. I mean, I assume for anyone who's doing this, there's a hole that we're looking to fill. You know what I'm saying? So it's like whether and for the so not, feeling like maybe you didn't have I'm sure you had buds, right?
Yeah, of course.
But like getting teased and not being fully like accepted, which everybody feels at to a certain extent, but it's I think why when we start getting into this, you're just looking for like that. I mean, to be looking
embrace,
for validation from strangers is such a crazy thing. But I think it's also met with, at least for me, in like getting teased, it's so funny, scrawny kid, fat kid, like it's just those ends of the spectrums.
Yeah.
Like it's like, fuck, dude, if like you were like 10 pounds heavier and I was 10 pounds lighter, maybe we would have fucking skated through. But
that's a hard image for me to paint also as well, because I look the way I do now.
Yeah.
So, and I'm trying to figure out the perfect way to talk about it in my set now, because whenever I talk
away
about
from that, because that's what happened and that's what
but
contributed
nobody
to who you are.
believes me.
Right, I hear
it's crazy. If you go down to the beginning of my Instagram, you'll be like, this is a different
why
human
do I feel
being.
bad for this guy, right?
Exactly. Nobody feels bad for me now.
So you've strayed away from any material that you think is because you don't think people are going to feel bad for you.
No, I don't. I've learned not to stray away from it, because that's not. I don't want to word it like that, because I don't want anybody to feel bad for me.
Right.
This isn't good, but I'm working on having more empathy and sympathy, because everybody's dealing with shit.
Yep.
Why the fuck would I ask you to feel sorry for the things I've dealt with in my life when you've probably had just as bad or worse shit?
Right.
Everybody's got their thing.
Yeah.
I never want anybody to feel sorry for me.
But there's a way to talk about it to show how it shaped you, right?
I only talk about it to show exactly that. It's like, well, I'm not like, my life isn't just like easy. I don't just come from being like a privileged, good-looking white kid.
Yeah.
Like it hasn't always been like that. So I want to talk about it in that context. Yep. It's not like, oh, please feel sorry for me, because like I don't want that.
And there's probably like there's just, I don't know, so many bits even of just like the things. I don't know if there's even like similarities of the things you dealt with being like a scrawny kid that was teased with girls that you still deal with now, or like, the same things that pop up, or is it just like a full confident shift? Like
incredibly.
Yeah.
I didn't lose my virginity until like 2 months before I moved. But like 2 months before I moved to LA.
Whoa.
Yeah, it was crazy.
Was that a planned move where you were like, I can't go to LA?
No, I just didn't. I had never had a girlfriend until 2 months before I moved to LA.
How come?
Just wasn't interested.
Wasn't looking.
Dude, I didn't look good. I was like boned, skinny. I just had no confidence. I was funny, but like that, it'll get you so far. As a kid, when like most of the kids you grow into high school with got beards and shit.
Yeah.
I think I had like one kiss and a hand job between the ages of like 14 and 17 and a half.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it was not great.
Which is something. That's something to like hang your hat on and be like, but yeah, going to Hollywood.
Yeah, but then puberty starts to set in. You start to get funny. You start to get some notoriety and be on television. And all of a sudden you're granted all this opportunity, I
Whoa.
suppose.
Yeah,
And it
man.
is a massive confidence.
You still keep in touch with a
shift.
girl?
You know what's funny? We don't, but next time I go home, I've thought about hitting her up to just be like, let's just grab lunch. Because it was like the typical high school romance. We're like, are we going to get married? Like,
Oh,
we're
really?
so in love with each other.
Oh, wow.
And like, it'd be nice to go back and be like, okay, can I still see what I would have saw then? Like,
Totally.
can I still understand where I was coming
Oh,
from?
yeah, man. I mean, yeah, that stuff is always... So she doesn't have a family and like married and all
I
that?
think I looked at her Facebook like 3 or 4 years ago, and she had a boyfriend.
Yeah.
But other than that,
Whoa.
not that I know of. I think it'd be nice to catch up. Like
Hell
I
yeah.
did care about her. There was no problem in the relationship or with her other than like I was wildly insecure in a long distance relationship at 17.
Wow.
Yeah, it was.
So then you get to LA. All right. So you're crashing with Eric Griffin,
Uh-huh.
and then you're just balls to the wall with comedy and trying to just make this.
Yeah, man.
Life.
I knew enough people in
Yeah.
the scene from doing the guest spots and.
Which is huge, by the way, because coming here at all is
Mhm.
I have so much respect for anybody that comes here to just immerse herself in it because it is so daunting and overwhelming. And
Well-
even knowing some people is helpful, but you're still like by yourself out here, right?
Yeah, but it's like it's again, it's the ignorance is kind of bliss. You know what I
Totally.
mean? You're naive to how crazy it is. Anytime
Yes.
somebody tells me that, thank you, it's a very sweet compliment.
Yeah.
But it's like, at that age, I had no idea. I
Yeah.
was just like, well, I'm just this is the equivalent to me going to college,
Totally.
right? It's just probably overwhelming and
Yeah.
scary, and you don't know what you want to
You're
do.
like, what I want to do is there, so I go there. What's the big deal? right?
Exactly.
Like,
It just seemed like the logical thing
it's
to
just
do.
another place with different people and like more
Exactly.
opportunities. What's
Yeah.
hard about that? Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah.
And I knew enough people that were like, I would hang out the Laugh Factory primarily, that it
What
became.
happened? What?
Charlemagne.
Oh, okay.
What's he doing?
He called TikTok Tech Talk.
TED Talk?
He called TikTok Tech Talk.
Tech Talk. That's the oldest thing I've ever heard in my entire life.
It's Charlemagne.
Hilarious.
So back to my life story.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, I just knew enough people, and the Laugh Factory was the home club. It's where most of the people I knew were getting spots consistently. So I
Yep.
would go hang out there, and I wasn't 18 yet. So Jamie used to make me wait in that lobby area, which is where you and I would talk,
Yeah.
and I'd have to watch through like the little window thing.
Oh, because he wouldn't let you in.
Wouldn't let me in. I either had to be upstairs in the lobby, in like the VIP area, or like not in
Wow.
the showroom, or outside by the ticket booth. But most of the people hung out around the ticket booth, so I hung out there. And it just became, you just had to wait for your opportunity for somebody to be late or cancel, and then somebody all at the same time, somebody there who knows you and likes you, like say
To
Eric,
vouch.
to vouch and be like, throw man up for 5. It's 5 minutes.
So that would start happening.
Yeah, it would just happen little by little, and then managers there at the time would, and I mean they've been through so many,
Yeah.
but they would kind of take note, and if you're a nice enough person, and charming, and get along with everybody,
Yeah,
then
and
it's
do
like
your
it's
thing
supposed
on
to happen.
stage.
Yeah,
Totally.
you're hanging out there more. Maybe Jamie's not there, and they need somebody to fill up 5. Like, well, Matt's here, throw him on, and it just became.
And then you started hosting there a lot too, right?
And
As a way to get
hosting,
in.
yeah.
Which was a great move on your part because I did that for certain shows just when I was getting going, just to get stage time.
Mhm.
Realizing I'm like, when Comedy Juice was the big show,
Yeah.
and I knew the guy that was running it, he was like, man, we're just always so stacked, but we became buds, and he's like, and I want to throw you bones, but he's like, I always need hosts. So he's like, if you're down,
Mm-hmm.
so I would get, they do it every Wednesday, sometimes 3 out of the 4 in a month because he just needed a host. And
Yeah.
and it was it's another great skill set to develop.
Mhm.
And it's like, a part of me would have some apprehensions because I was like, I'd see people that were hosting all the time, and I was like, well, I don't want to turn into like that type of
It is easy to get boxed in.
Totally. But it was like, all right, well, like it definitely made me have to, always have energy,
Mhm.
right? Which I think is not bad. And then, be able to riff a little bit with the crowd.
Yeah, you got to be able to do crowd work.
And then do different shit hopefully every time because you are out of the gate. And it's nice to be at places where you can get a consistent run of shows because you're like, oh man, these people are seeing me a lot now. I can't be doing the same shit. Right?
Exactly. That's one of the hardest things. Like, are you a sit down, pen and pad at a desk, write kind of guy, or are you more life experience, something sparks and you're like, oh, I can make this funny?
Yeah, totally. I'll, wake up in the middle of the night sometimes and just write down. I used to have the books, and then I lost 2 different times notebooks that were devastating. So now it's just all phone because I'm like,
You lost
yeah,
them?
because even if I and one of them more so than the other, but they were both. I was able to remember bits of things, but like, dude, it was just, it was just so awful. So I was like, I just gotta, even if I lose my phone, I'll never, always have the email to be able to access. But yeah, every now and then I'll sit down and really flush stuff out. It just depends. Sometimes things will come to me even like in the back of an Uber, and I'll, jot down a whole paragraph of something. Sometimes it's just nuggets of something, and I'm like, well, let me just play with it on stage tonight.
Yeah.
But then I'll be like, well, that's lazy. Like, so come back to that, in a couple hours maybe, and think on it. Or talk it out with buddies.
I'm the same way. I've always been jealous of people like Neil Brennan, who can sit down and just write for 3 hours.
Right, and just kind of have his structure and be like, this is the joke, I'm going to take this, and that's what I'm going to try out. Yeah,
it's weird because I'm not a super energetic performer per se, but I'm also not like a stand and deliver just writer either. It's kind of a weird mix in between.
Yeah.
But I mean, I wish I had the confidence in both skill sets.
Yeah. So when you got going out here, did you, obviously when you're coming out with a little confidence into LA and you start kind of getting some gigs, Wildin' Out, you said was like the first thing that kind of.
Well, technically the first thing I did was I did BET's Comic View when I like a month after I turned 18. I was doing the comedy. I was doing the Comedy Union down on Pico.
You used to do it all the time.
Of course, but that's another thing, by the way. It's crazy. So many people ask me how I ended up doing so many like black clubs and shows in the beginning of my career and still do. And it's because black people always gave me so much more opportunity than white people did.
Wow.
It's so strange. Like they were always more apt to be like, yeah, come do my show. And just white comics weren't like that. So it's like, yeah, of course I'm going to go where I'm comfortable and where I'm wanted.
Yeah.
So I was at the Comedy Union, and Amber Bickham, who everybody knows, she's incredibly sweet. She saw me there and was like, I'm booking it. Would you want to do it? And I was like, yeah. So I was the youngest person to be on the show. Got a standing ovation. My dog died the morning of the taping.
Oh
my first time ever doing a TV thing.
Oh my God.
I know. My first dog ever, by the way.
You a big dog guy?
Yeah.
So this was a fucking
I was
gut punch.
like 4 a.m. the night before the show. I'm bawling. I'm like,
fuck,
why? Dude. Standing ovation, crush it.
You start crying thinking about your dog?
Didn't cry, but then the show got pulled before my episode aired. So that was my first taste of like,
the business.
got it.
Fair,
they can
Hollywood.
just do that? Well, do I get the footage? No, they own it? Awesome. Okay,
man.
so I don't even know what it looks like.
Because you're probably in your head being like, dude, if I can at least get that clip and put it on YouTube, I'll fucking blow up.
Or my reps have something to send around to people or something.
Use it for something.
Yeah, but then Wild Now ended up being the first significant thing.
Did you ever find yourself, I know I did, I used to talk about this with Dylan Cole about like the first time I started doing, just real urban rooms where I would find myself being like, yo, motherfuckers feeling good.
Oh, yeah.
Did you get a little bit of that? Yeah.
A little bit. Primarily when I was, again, this goes with the longer story, but Gary used to own another club in Atlanta it's like the most ghetto club in the country. It's called Uptown Comedy Corner.
Yeah.
He used to own that. So when I was 16 to 17, that whole summer between my junior and senior year, I went down there and I lived with him and I was working his club every single night. So in that spurt, I was just seeing like the most ghetto comics every single night. You do start to pick up on it.
For sure.
But then around 17, I was like, wait, I don't want to be Gary Owen, which no disrespect to him.
Totally.
I love Gary Owen, but it's like I want to do everything. So I was like, look, you have to break yourself of that mold.
You don't want to be getting. Your guy's grandpa ever fuck a pocket pussy and break the neck? Your grandpa ever break the neck of the pocket pussy?
Hamburger.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Well, Eric Griffin will tell you. Will confirm this story. One time, I took a Greyhound from Ohio to open for him in Pittsburgh at the Pittsburgh Improv.
Wow.
And I had just come from Atlanta for those 4 months, and I went out to Pittsburgh at Eric's crowd, and I opened with a rap music cue bit,
God.
and I had the slang and everything, and bro,
He pulled you aside.
I bombed, bro. I stayed in his green room like this for like 2 hours.
Yep.
I didn't watch his show. I didn't go out there and do like meet and greets after or anything. He came back in the green room and was like, that's why you don't do that.
Whoa.
He was like, do not ever pigeonhole yourself.
I mean, what you doing, man?
Yeah, bro. Bro, it was like I was doing the hackiest stuff that was working in these clubs, and I was like, this isn't
cool.
isn't cool.
But you know what? It's great that like, again, life works itself out where you at some point you were going to get that, mirror being held up for you to go, oh man, that's like, and it took you to be there
Yeah.
and with Eric and somebody for him to like for you to feel it and then for somebody that you look up to give you a little bit of like really and then you're like okay that was
and it's interesting because now I'll still have people now be like you talk black on stage, which is already like a ridiculous thing to say to anybody. But the reason I was so comfortable in black rooms and why I probably picked that whatever you want to call it up, the voice up or whatever you want to call it, the accent or whatever, is because I am incredibly comfortable around that. And ever since I was in kindergarten, my best friends have been black.
Oh, cool.
So there was a truth to that for me, but I was leaning on it too hard. I was like, this is where the funny is coming from. Versus now, if I have a certain twang to my voice or I talk about a certain subject, it's because that's really me.
Right.
Rather than like, oh, I'm pandering.
You and Paul, is it Elia or Elia?
He changes it. You know what? It was
Paul. Pick a fucking lane.
It was Elia until Delia got in trouble, and now I swear to God, he changed it because he doesn't want it to sound like Delia. So I think now it's Elia.
Elia. Okay.
Yeah.
You guys, and I remember seeing even like the write up you got on Deadline, which was so cool.
Thank you, man.
So when COVID hit, I don't know how, were you like, I'm going to take a break creatively, or I'm always curious for how long did people sit back and go, I'm going to enjoy this time off where I'm not required to be anywhere or do anything. But then how long does that last for before you're kind of starting to go stir crazy and you're like, I got to figure out a way to get around this. And then, because you guys end up creating a real popular show in LA and really one of the first ones, maybe the first one.
It was the first one,
cool.
Which was what was one of the parts that played into it. Yeah, I went from beginning of March to beginning of July without performing at all. And spiral of events, I started having panic attacks and going through therapy, I realized it was because of lack of performance. My therapist was like, you've been performing for 9 years at this point, on average, once a week for the past 9 years. And performance is such an exertion of mental and physical energy. Regardless of what you're talking about or what you're doing, you do have an outlet for energy. And he's like, you don't have that. So now it's just kind of this energy is kind of festering inside of you. So I started having panic attacks, which I'd never had, started having really bad anxiety, which
How'd you deal with that?
I had to start performing. So we literally fixed it. I still have it a little bit, but like overnight it was no longer like debilitating.
Whoa.
So when I was taking out my trash and we had this big backyard, this back parking lot area where like a couple cars parked, and I called Paul and I FaceTime, I showed him the space. I was like, yo, we could put people back here. He was like, can we do that? I was like, dude, I saw what Chappelle was doing in Ohio. Michael Shea had put on this big outdoor show in a truck in New York. And I was like, this is Los Angeles. This is the entertainment capital of the world, and nobody is putting on a stand-up comedy show.
By the way, I love that you again got inspired from your favorite comic.
Yeah.
Like, seeing what Chappelle, like, how great is that?
Yeah, it's incredible.
Full circle, like, wow, like, look what he, like, just to get the idea of like, wow, like my guy found a way to get around it. So like,
and thanks to him doing that, I was able to find my own thing.
And so you guys created the show that's in the, so we'll probably go a few over, cool, and then we'll just cut marks. The next one short.
Yeah,
right.
Tell him to wait.
Yeah, yeah. So the show is in the back of a truck.
Yeah,
which is, on paper you're like, huh? But guess what? Especially during a pandemic, you're like, I don't care if it was in the back of a homeless guy fucking eating out another homeless guy. Like truly, if it was like in front of them or behind them, like whatever, the obstacle was. Yeah, it was like. I want to, and the outdoorness was appealing, and being in a place, LA, where like, that's a favorable element. Yeah. And then you guys just started, did you feel, because, you've had every great comic come through. Did it, was it right away bangers like that where people were like, yes, I want to do it?
Yeah, we had, like the first show, we had Taylor Tomlinson, Sam Morril was in town. We had, it was James Davis, I think Yasser Lester as well. Like people who I was already friends with, and then people I was kind of friends with, but like I was a fan of their comedy. So, I mean, that definitely is to me one of the biggest perks of the relationships I've been able to build through that. People who were like knew who I was, but hadn't seen me on stage and didn't know to like what professional ability should we really have a relationship, because everybody does come. You see people around that you're like, I don't really need to know you, really.
1,000%. Getting the respect from your peers and having people see you in your element and then being like, just having that respect is huge. And getting to chum people up like that. And then also you're providing truly like at that time, the only spot. So that's it. So,
and I knew how much I needed it. So it's like, imagine how much they needed as well.
Yeah. That's so dope, dude. Yeah, then you had that great write-up, and the show's still jamming.
Heck yeah, dude. 32 shows since last July.
And you guys
Crazy.
Went to San Diego and did a few.
We've done 5 in San Diego. We've started to branch out with it more.
It's a lot of work.
We've gone from the back of my apartment complex to the venue you did, and now we've upgraded to a 180 seater.
Cool.
And
you had all the safe protocols, which is cool. You guys just
safe as it could be. Yeah, masks have always been required. Temperature checks, masks on. Now we're a little bit more lenient. If you show your vaccine card, we're
cool.
you don't have to keep your mask on. It's fine.
And how much into that, into doing the show and having it get successful and getting some just momentum and confidence did then the special, because you're getting ready to shoot the first special.
Yeah.
Which is great. Did you always think 10 years in, that's when I want to do it, or what?
No, I was incredibly unlucky to hear Gerard Carmichael say he did his first special 8 years in. So I'd always thought 8 is when you're supposed to do it, not realizing Gerard's a freak of nature and brilliance.
Yes.
So I mean, I wanted to film one last year, so it would have been 9 years in. But again, the way life works out, I'd say of the hour, a good 45 minutes of that is all post-pandemic writing new material that I like way better than what I was doing before.
Wow.
So it's probably better that I'm putting out the stuff now.
I think everyone says that, where they're like, I'm glad or looks back and says, God, I wish I would have maybe, because I've added to that bit, or I've just gotten better. You're always, I think hindsight's 20/20. You're always going to look back and be like, man, I should have even waited another whatever. But when you're ready, you're ready. And
no, I'm excited, man. It's finally a set that I'm proud of. It finally has some actual, it's not just funny, it's my perspective on some things that are very important to me, some silly stuff. I feel like it's a great introduction piece to me as a stand-up.
That's what it should be.
Thank you.
What's the title? Do you know?
I'm leaning towards, if we get it out in time, only if it's relevant enough to make it work, I want to call it OnlyFans, Matt Rife OnlyFans, purely for the marketing alone.
Amazing.
Because I'm shooting it, if it's not at the one venue I mentioned, then the second venue, we're going to do it in the round, where it's all people surrounding me, very intimate, low ceiling place. So it's even the background is just fans. We did the GoFundMe for it, which you helped out with. Thank you so much.
Yeah, man.
So it's funded by the fans, and I get 20 messages a day being like, what's your OnlyFans? Do you have an OnlyFans? So now if I hashtag Matt Rife OnlyFans, or whenever somebody Googles Matt Rife OnlyFans, that's going to come up.
Wait, people ask you 20 messages a day, just straight up looking at your pictures and then go, what's your OnlyFans?
Yeah.
From gals and guys?
Yeah. Mostly guys.
Whoa.
Yeah. So I'm the marketing for that is great.
That's brilliant, by the way.
Thank
you. For sure. Because then, if people are already, now I just started talking about OnlyFans in my act, because it is fascinating to me, and just had some funny interactions with people in the crowd when I do this bit. I asked this one guy, because I'm like, it definitely made me look in the mirror and be like, dude, how much can I get for my calves? You know? And I asked this guy, I was like, what would you put on OnlyFans to make some cash? He's like, probably my Dallas Cowboys jersey. And I was like, oh, you think it's a sports memorabilia site? So that was a whole it was a very adorable approach to it.
He thought it was a memorabilia.
So I was like, dude, you got to sex it up a bit. He's like, what if I pee on it? I was like, there we go. That's at least $95.
That's hilarious.
But I do know people that are on there cashing in.
Bro, I know ugly girls who are cashing out, and I'm like, wow.
Paying their rent and then some. So what? But you're not on it.
I'm not on it, dude.
Do you ever think?
Yeah, because, dude, I've sent so many dick pics that's as soon as I'm famous, someone's going to leak it for free. Someone's going to.
And that was going to be my last question. If you ever, by the way, were on, we're going to do a 10 question inside the actor studio to close this out.
Perfect.
But how many dick pics? And how many is too many? That face
how many
is a lot.
Yeah, man.
Now, maybe for the viewers, because you are the guy, I think, to really break it down for the guys out there that are like,
look,
what's the best angle?
Because my friends are asking me the same thing, because dude, this is so gonna get me canceled. That's so annoying.
Well, then we don't have to get into it.
First of all, I've never sent a dick pic that's I don't want to say unwanted, but fucking read the room.
Totally.
Don't just be like, hey, here's my dick.
Well, don't
do
open
that.
with for sure. That goes without saying. It's not
don't open with it. Have an established rapport.
It was great to meet you at the club tonight. Here's my wiener.
Yeah. Well, don't get me wrong. I've sent them pretty early. I've sent them day of. But it's because sometimes it's immediately apparent what this is going to be.
Great.
And if that's established, if you're already sexting
If
each
there's
other, then it's like, hey,
Oh yeah.
maybe
And there's
we cut to the
flirtings.
chase.
Totally.
Yeah, but I can confidently say nobody has ever been like,
Great.
I wish you didn't send me that,
Great.
or like, please, I'm not comfortable.
You read the room well.
Yeah,
Great.
which is crazy to think how many people can't fucking
I
do
know.
that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'll send them pretty early.
So early as in now, will you take it early, or is it like you've taken it the night before in preparation for a 7 a.m. takeoff?
Oh man, this is gonna ruin it. Some of them are
by the way,
stock. Some of them are stock.
Hilarious.
You ever take a good one? You're like, that'll get me through like the next 6 months.
I think I've taken 2.
What?
Yeah, dude. Yeah.
Bro,
Yeah, I know.
stop dick shaming yourself, man.
Yeah, and I'm not fucking
Get a good light.
bashful, but
Yeah, get a
I think
good
that's what it
angle.
was. I think it was like, that maybe the light or the angle that I was like, dude, what am I doing,
Well,
man?
look,
Who
dicks
wants?
they're just fucking ugly.
I know.
You know what I
think
mean?
that's the thing. I think I was just like, dude, why? I wouldn't want to fucking, so why would?
But I think it's just like, I think that's an ego train that's easy to hop on. It's like you get a couple of good reactions to where you're like, oh, maybe people do like this.
Right.
Or you get the girl who's like, I usually don't like when guys send that, but yours is like, now it sealed the deal for me. Now I'm
Whoa.
interested. You're like, well, shit, maybe this is the key. God,
So you could do that
I'm
on Only.
sorry.
Yeah. Sorry, Mom. So there's probably a market for that on OnlyFans.
Definitely. So it's like, do I cash out on it first, or do I let it just be out there?
No, I think you let maybe try your luck at the craft of comedy first, and if that doesn't go according to plan, it's always OnlyFans ain't going anywhere.
Yeah, part of me is like, yeah, you don't want to do that because you don't want to diminish who you are as an artist and as a performer and everything you've built.
But also,
like,
man, if there's money on the table.
Yeah, who knows what exec might see it and be like, well, he would make a good Spider-Man.
Hilarious.
Interesting.
Hilarious. He might make a good Spider-Man from one nut shot. Yeah. Okay, so you're going to shoot it what?
August 6th and 7th.
Wow, 2 shows.
2 shows. No, I'm sorry. No, we're going to do 3 to 4 shows.
Oh, great.
Yeah, but it's like I've never headlined in LA. I've done like the outskirts of Orange County and stuff like that, but especially for such an important event where it's like I need to pack this out.
Yes.
It's nerve-wracking. Like, what if people don't come to my fucking special, dude? It's
and
scary.
you said you're going to fly your grandpa out. I'm going to pull up our last 10 questions here.
I'm gonna fly my grandpa. I'm gonna try to fly my mom out as well. If I had to choose one, I'll probably fly my grandpa. My mom's been to way more of my stuff. My grandpa didn't get to see me perform last Christmas in Ohio because he had a cough, not COVID, but a really bad cough. So he was like really bummed he couldn't go see my shows.
Yeah, he'll be fired up to come out.
Yeah, I think so too.
All right. Inside
Fire
the
away.
Actor Studio, James Lipton, R.I.P. And no doubt you would have been on that show at some point. So
Thanks,
let's knock it out now with the 10-question questionnaire. Matt Rife.
Yep.
What is your favorite word?
My favorite word?
Yes.
Fuck. I say it a lot.
Are you more of a hard F guy or a CK guy?
I think I'm an elongated you. Fuck.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just like, bro. It just feels good to get
It
out.
does. A properly placed fuck does a lot.
It
of good.
says a lot.
Yeah. When kids can properly use fuck, hilarious.
Oh, absolutely. A well-timed fuck from a child.
Dude, hilarious.
Not that is not how it could have sounded. Not no, I mean a child using the word fuck at an
yes,
appropriate.
Dude, I think people picked up on that, dude. Yeah.
You never know
That's
anymore,
at Matt
dude.
Rife on Twitter. Yeah. No, dude, my buddy told me his kid said, Mom, can I curse? 4 years old. And she was like, yeah. And she goes, I fucking love Target.
That
And she
seems
was like,
totally
"Dude,
appropriate.
Not only did you ask permission,
Used
you
it correctly.
You use it correctly, and you're like this. You're talking about something that I also fucking love.
Yeah. Brilliant.
Matt Rife, what is your least favorite word?
Least favorite word? Canceled.
What turns you on?
Ooh. Like physically or as a person? Like overall?
It's your choice.
Oh, what turns me on? Sense of humor.
What turns you off?
Lack of sense of humor.
Great answer. What is your favorite curse word other than fuck?
Aw. God damn it. I know it's taking
good.
the Lord's name in vain.
You know
I
what
know.
though? It's classic
I know.
though, and it's a real. When people throw out the GD, it's you can tell there's true frustration
Yeah,
there.
and I feel like he'd get it, you know.
He gets it. He probably says it. He came up with it.
Yeah.
What sound or noise do you love?
Sound and noise.
Sound or noise?
Sound or noise. Rain.
Ooh,
Love rain.
nice.
Mhm.
Seattle is.
I'm going there this week. I'm going there tomorrow.
Oh, yeah, Tacoma.
Mhm.
I'll pump that out for you.
Thank you, man.
Have you been there before?
No, Nate Jackson's new club.
Oh, dope, dude.
Mhm. Dude, I want to move to Oregon or Washington eventually. I love
it's
the
the
Pacific
shit, dude. And
Northwest.
you would clean house.
Yes, good to know.
Your nickname will be the maid up there. You'll be just fucking getting so much. All right. What noise or sound do you hate?
Noise or sound. My roommate drinks loudly. Like like when the people who go
Oh,
to everything they
fuck
drink.
is
Bro, I can hear it across
drinking out
the
of a-
apartment.
didgeridoo? What is that?
So, I don't know, man. I'm like, dude, just sip on it. You don't have to deep throat the entire gallon. It's horrible,
dude.
bro.
No, there's no reason for the giant gulps.
Oh, absolutely.
Unless you have some sort of esophageal,
no. I'll take a fart or a queef over a gulp any day.
Isolate that audio, send it to me. That's my new email alert. Matt Rife saying I'll take a fart or a queef over a gulp any day. All right. What profession other than your own would you like to attempt?
Sports. I love boxing.
Great.
But you got to come sometime, dude. I love it.
I would love to come train like that.
It's so much fun.
And when I see people post those videos, I'm like, dude, it's never people that put that shit up. It's never like you can't like. I mean, dude, when I'm watching you like spar,
I don't post me sparring.
I've seen video of you fucking doing like
that's just mitt work stuff. That's just like it's just fun cardio, finding numbers and timing stuff. That's nothing.
Yeah, it looks
like,
legit.
That's the thing. It looks good.
Yeah,
but you still get people on the internet who's like, everybody can do mitt work, but can you spar? Yes,
really?
I spar. But the whole point of me not posting is you thinking I can't fight.
Hell
so
yeah.
Fucking try me.
All right,
It's
I'll
fine.
come through. What profession would you not like to do?
Anything in an office.
Yeah,
lose my mind. Need to be doing something.
Yep. If heaven exists, Matt Rife, what would you like to hear God say when you arrive at the pearly gates?
Yo, that shit was crazy, wasn't it? Oh my God. I used to have this bit about, we can edit it if we think it's too controversial. I used to have this bit about like, what if God is nothing like how you think he is?
Yeah.
Like everything that happens in the world, we go, well then why would God create this? Or
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah.
I used to think it would be very funny if like, what if you got to heaven, the first thing God says was like, hey man, what's up with all that gay shit? Like, what if he was just like, bro, I made vaginas so dope and y'all fucking butts? Like, bro, I made them stink. Like, you know?
Oh my God, I made him stink. What
It's not
doing?
It's not homophobic. I love
No,
gay people. It is.
very
You
funny.
are supposed to be gay if
That's
you're gay, but
very
it's just funny to think if it was that big of a turn.
That's so funny, dude. Or an alt that God could say, Matt, I also would take a fart or a queef over and you're like, that's what's up, God. And then he gives you your BET tape from the Comedy Union. And he goes, you want to watch it together?
Oh, bro, if he had it?
If he had it, he's got it. He's got it.
No, the devil has that for sure.
Hilarious.
For sure.
Where are you on Instagram and Twitter? At Matt Rife?
Everything just at Matt Rife.
We'll, I don't know if we'll put this out. We might put this out sooner than later and then just really pump some clips out before the special drops.
Dude, I'm all for it, man. Whenever. I'm
but,
so happy we made this happen. Dude, I've been wanting to do this podcast since you did it with Brad, dude.
Oh, hilarious, dude. Well, Brad's under the table if you want to say what's up.
Oh, I know. I feel him.
Yeah. You're the man. Thanks for doing this. Congrats.
Love
on
you,
everything
man.
too,
Thank you
Love
so
too,
much,
bud.
dude.
All right.